Good science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion. Otherwise, you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown and you lose you?
Where you been?
Drunk. Wendy. Darling. Light of my life.
What's your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course.
I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death?
Yeah, so fuck up and die.
Speaking of sexy bodies, I apologize if this makes it into it to anyone on the YouTube that has to look at are blinded by my white arms.
It's beautiful, dude. We need that. That should be official merch.
Yeah,
it is. It's just cutoffs.
It's so hot here. I had to cut my shirt into a tank top because I can't find any of my tank tops. But I'm far too doughy and white. I'm like a Jesse Plemons body, but hairier.
Yeah.
Well, we just finished Love and Death, and he does look. I love Jesse Plemons. He can act, but he just looks like lard stuffed into like an uncooked sausage just made at the factory, just fucking stuffed into the pig intestine.
Yeah, he's definitely a lumpy fellow.
Yeah,
we love him though because he's a good actor. So
he is a great actor. He's an up and comer.
And good actors were involved with this ensemble cast.
Good segue, Jordan. This is the Cult of Cinema Knowledge podcast. That's the segue maestro, Jordan over there, and I'm Levi with the white pasty skin. Hello.
I'm guilty of enjoying good film.
Oh, look at you.
That's it, man. That's my. I got a couple more, but I'll spare you all.
You're guilty.
Because I'm not an angry man because I watched this film. Wait, okay. I promise I'll stop.
Lies.
What are we watching?
You might be
today,
wondering why Jordan's losing his mind over there and he's a guilty, angry boy. We watched you clicked on the thing. We watched the classic 1957. People know what they're getting into. This is the undisputed GOAT, one of the greatest of all times. Look on any top 10 list ever, and you're gonna find this movie, Sidney Lumet's 12 Angry Men.
And this is actually one that sits comfortably at like being perfect. It's weird.
It's great.
Like rarely do I watch a movie where I'm like, oh, and it's funny because we can get into it later, but this isn't my favorite Lumet film.
Is it Before the Devil Knows You're Dead? Is that yours?
That's high up there, but I think it's Dog Day. But it's like I think I resonate and connect with Dog Day more. I like the manic energy that comes with Dog Day.
Dude. But go listen to that episode.
We totally appreciate it. And like, so watching this, I was like, oh, I understand now why this like lives in infamy.
Sidney Lumet, R.I.P. man, like he has made some great fucking films across the board, and like they're all pretty different, man. Like he was a varied filmmaker.
That's so cool.
He was never pigeonholed, and so I feel like that's maybe why people kind of forget him, because they didn't like kind of forget about him a little bit because he doesn't have a gimmick. He just makes good movies. He
definitely was in a weird time period where like he was just a paid director. Like he wasn't like an auteur necessarily. He just was a working director, and then this is his debut film, and it's a very low budget movie, and it takes the original writer, Reginald Rose, who did the like TV whatever's that like Playvella or whatever they call that, like it was like just a TV drama.
Yeah, the live theater type performance thing. Yeah, which is cool because I actually didn't know that until you said that. Earlier, I had no idea because I don't know. I know that there has been like a remake, and I'm sure this has been acted on stage countless times because it's perfect for it.
It totally, like in the '60s, it totally took on like, a whole new breath of life of being like set to stage, and now I feel like it almost lives on stage as much as it does cinema too. So it's like
may as well. Before you tell, because you said you wrote a synopsis like a good boy.
I did, yeah.
My favorite Sidney Lumet movie is Network, which you need to see. So.
Oh, I haven't seen. I know. But see, and that's what's cool is like I don't even know what kind of genre you necessarily put Network in, but
I don't know.
I'm sure that it has a very like topical and political slant that is a really fresh commentary.
It's
and that probably holds up
still
today.
got shit to say about the media
That's
today,
fucking, yeah, right. That's exactly what
maybe
he does.
even
He
more
does it
so
well.
with like manufactured news and shit.
Right.
Anyway, so you wrote, for those that are uninitiated or need a brief refresher of the details. I mean, I'm sure you can imagine the setting, but Jordan wrote a synopsis. Why don't you lay it on us, bud?
While I wrote this, I was like, oh, this will be an easy write-up. And then as I got into it, I'm like, God, it's wild. It takes place in literally one room. There's like 3 minutes of actual footage of this hour and 40-minute movie. There's literally just 3 minutes that take place anywhere else besides this one room.
Mm-hmm.
Thus the theme for our month, which is 24-hour movies.
Yeah.
So it fits that perfectly, and it's like kind of wild how much happens. It's such a rich story, and there's so much like character depth, and it's the twists and turns. It's perfect, and I think it lends itself to being on a murder trial, and you're emotionally invested right from the beginning. But anyways, let's get into it. My synopsis is kind of just like a quick breakdown of what you'd expect.
Yeah.
But I feel like you just need to watch this movie. It's fantastic. All right. So we open on the front steps of the New York County Supreme Court, following up the stairs into the building of the courtroom, where the tail end of a murder trial is taking place. The judge excuses the jury for their deliberation after plainly reiterating the facts at hand. One man is dead and another's life in balance. As the 12 men enter the jury room, light banter sets the stage with an impending storm on the horizon. The men get to task. The first juror takes the leader position, inviting a preliminary vote to see where the other 11 stand. One by one, we hear a guilty vote from 11 of the men, except for juror number 8. He has reasonable doubt. As the rest of the men question him, he provides critical thought to the evidence provided, disputing the credibility of some of the testimony. The first big doubt revolves around the murder weapon, a switchblade the courts decided to be very rare, but juror 8 purchased one the night before in the same neighborhood as the accused, causing quite a disruption, but not fully changing everyone's mind. A second anonymous ballot is cast, where juror 9 changes to not guilty, posing the opinion to look closer at all the evidence. This causes juror number 3 to lean harder into his convictions. He is unwavering, claiming the eyewitness is the only evidence needed to prove him guilty. After another creative display by juror 8, he debunks the legitimacy of an older disabled man's testimony, who claimed to have moved in 15 seconds what would have taken him 45, causing the room to divide 6 non-guilty to 6 guilty. As the storm rages on outside, a few of the more headstrong jury claim to know the boy in question and profile him for being brown and a lower socioeconomical status to justify his killing. This divides the room even more, making it 9-3 in favor of not guilty. The final twist of the night, the woman that claimed to see the boy through the L train had evidence of wearing glasses but refrained from having them on during her confession. And this evidence convinced everyone except for juror 3, who begrudgingly held on to his guilty verdict due to deeply personal relationship matters between his estranged son. And once confronted with that fact, he sides not guilty. As the storm clouds part, the men freed from the decision go about their life, some change for the better.
That's nice.
Oh.
Yeah, that's good. God, this is a good movie.
It's such a good movie, dude. And it's wild though, because there's so much goddamn depth from every character, and I think it just goes to show the directing doesn't need to be huge and flashy. You just need a solid script, and you need the time. You need the time it takes to get the performances from your actors. It was amazing.
This script is fucking tight.
It is
with great character development. So many things connecting to other things. Fucking,
well, dude,
it's so consistent.
I know every juror.
They don't even have names. I mean, kind of at the end,
Yeah.
a couple of them do, but
Right, well,
but
yeah,
but
he
even
has
then,
to-
they're just numbers, man. They're just 12
Yeah.
dudes in a room deciding, and like juror number 8 is like, I just don't know. He's like, we're deciding the fate of a dude who's going to be executed if we decide. We should take 5 minutes to talk about it, because it's like, it's not like he's just being contrarian. He's just like, let's figure it out, man. I don't want to just say, all right, let's get lunch and fucking, electric chair this kid, and it turns into a whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's excellent, because it's never about like, I feel like the only complaint I've ever heard about this movie, other than it's old, has been like,
yeah.
I've heard once upon a time, I don't remember who said it, but someone back in the day was like, oh, it's so dumb. Then it's like, who's the killer then? And I'm like, that's not the point, though. It's just nice that it's just like, like breaks down because it's like, I don't know. For all we know, the kid did kill his dad. You know what I mean?
And I love that.
But that's not the point.
But that is such a like a moral conundrum.
Yeah.
That like he's kind of like, yeah, if he is, then the like decision we made here, it's kind of interesting. They don't get super deep into like the fact that like, oh, if they make the wrong decision, that's like a moral downfall or quote unquote bad. They're just kind of like, we're here to make a decision on what has been provided to us.
Yeah, our
it doesn't
law.
even really matter.
The way American law is supposed to work. It's like the prosecution has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt.
That's my number one thing that I dislike about this movie. If I had to like nitpick something, my dislike would be the fact that it almost kind of glorifies the simplicity of our judicial system.
I mean, once, like on paper, sure, but
right. And so it's like, but it like definitely but that's the thing. I'm always like, oh, cool. They do actually bring up points in this that are like, oh, it is flawed, and so we're here to truly like unfold and figure out why it's flawed, and like to really and to look at it like, let's try to actually do this like, as plainly as possible. Like it's just like, look at the facts, look what happened. But then it's a good fucking movie because you have the knife reveal and you have the glasses reveal.
There's so many good little bombshells that it's just like you think something's airtight and then it's not,
Yeah, right. And it feels so organic how it unfolds with all the men, like, and I think it's just like it helps to have that many characters, and then so each person, like one person can like ponder and then like propose something, and then it kind of gets everyone else's mind thinking and working, and they can talk about it and deliberate. And I don't know, dude, the whole time I was like the choreography of this movie, and like which is blocking by another term. Yeah. Fucking knocked my socks off.
On
the
another
whole time
level.
I was sitting there, I was waiting. The whole movie, I was waiting to be like, glaring error. Nothing, dude.
Nothing.
Never came about. Not once.
He was
literally was like,
frothing
waiting.
from the mouth like a rabid dog. He was.
I know, dude. I was like, what are you gonna fuck up, Lupe? What are you gonna mess up, dog? I like couldn't find one. I mean, there has to be there's a couple like camera movement errors that like don't even really count. You could just tell that they had to correct during movement, but beyond that, which is just natural filmmaking, I'm like, it's flawless, dude. The blocking is flawless. Like
it's so good. You forget this takes place all in one room because it's like there's so much like this easily could have been throw the shits on a tripod, cut it, do it. But this camera is everywhere, man. It is moving all over this room. And that's
the ambition.
This
dude.
is the fucking 50s. Let me remind you. This isn't someone's iPhone. This thing is like a small car, just moving around this set. And it's super. It's very impressive. So I watched it with Gat. Shout out, brother, if you listen. And we watched it. He wanted to do the stream still, so we did it. And watched it. And I was explaining to him.
For everybody out there, if you go to Patreon, you can join our Discord, and we're doing streams every Sunday.
I'm gonna start. Yeah, we'll start pimping it out a little bit more here in the near future. But we've been doing streams of the movies, watching them together on the weekends. And but I was explaining to him, I was like, "Hey, I know you're not like a big film guy, but I gotta just say this blocking is erotic." And so I was talking to him about it a little bit because I'm just like, it's so good. Like every time the characters would like move into a position and the camera would move and they'd all be perfectly framed. Like the composition would just be absolutely excellent every time.
It's criminal.
And when it's frenetic, it's like frenetic.
Yeah,
it is.
Like the feast my eyes were upon when one character would move to get water, and it's like I'm just like, how are they gonna follow him? And it just boom, they just kept following him. And they were, oh my god, dude. And they, oh my god,
the cuts were just great when it just cuts to
oh my god.
every time like there was a cut revealed to something, but like the one that like got me just to laugh when they're trying to figure out when they did the anonymous vote, and they're like, which one of you did it? And he's like, you fucking did it, didn't you? Because you grew up in a slum, you coward.
Yeah.
And then it just cuts directly front on the old man. And he's like, it was me.
It was me. I know, that's so good, dude.
Because
like,
it's just,
dude, it's like it's all up in your face. Dude.
It's the pacing.
So,
it's just like everything's frenetic and fast and like moving in the camera, and then boom, close up, right with the like. I don't know. It's got the fluidity of the
that knife reveal. Like I haven't like my heart skipped a beat, dude. When he flips that knife out,
sticks it in the table,
he throws it right in the table, dude. My heart jumped. I was like, oh my god, because I've seen that scene when they talk about it, but I don't. It's like. In the context of because I've just seen that scene, and so like we talked about this movie in film school, and it's like it's a very important scene, and I'm like, oh, this is cool, but like you need the movie to like build up to that reveal, because I thought like, oh, it's just a thing that happens, and he talks about it, and it's everyone was kind of more on the same page, more or less. But no, dude, he straight up just has it in his pocket, and it's like it's a threat almost. Like it's a threat to like all the evidence, dog. I was like, holy shit, that's so cool.
I know, and it even comes back later. This movie's so tense too. But like when it comes back, I'm on the edge of my seat later when they're like trying to figure out if the downward thrust could work for that someone's height, and he's just got the knife, and there's been so much tension and anger in that room already, and everyone's just on the edge of their seat. And he's like, ugh, and they're like, oh, they're like, like of course I'm not gonna stab him, but. No, there is a part of you that thinks that like maybe he could. I don't know. Like who knows, man? This is like I don't know.
Dude, it breaks down the psychology of like a human being, and like I love. I mean the scene that articulates my thought that I'm trying to get out perfectly is the movie theater scene, or the remember what movie you've been to, you know, because he's like, oh, you saw a movie like a week ago, who was in it, what picture did you see, what was like the, you know, the second picture that you saw, and it's like he can't remember, and he's like, it's like you see him like that the mental anguish that he's going through, because he's like, oh fuck, it's like it's human to forget, and it's like it's so like your human mind, it like any moment you could kill somebody, and there's almost like everyone there like kind of, I feel like some of them change their opinion for like sympathy almost, where it's like, oh, it would be human to be like so tormented because we've been stuck here in this room and we're tormented by each other, and it's like just to get out of a situation, it's like the drastic things you would go to, and it just like, and it articulates that so well without even like saying that, like that's never like spoken at all in the movie, like it's just all in the tension. I feel so like weird watching this movie now and being like, oh yeah, it's like it's a good fucking movie.
I know, it's like what else is it like, because man,
I know, right, that's the thing, I'm like, this movie's
every juror, because even that juror, because was that juror number 4, right? When he's like, I believe I would remember, and then he does the whole
he's the
one bead of sweat, but it's just
the one bead of sweat. Oh my god, it's like, and it's so funny because these are like fucking straight up tropes nowadays.
Yeah,
that like we can see coming from a mile away, but watching this movie, I'm like, oh my god, I like did not. It's like I don't expect that. I didn't expect it. And like I'm like, oh, but of course it's so plain as day. Like that's gonna be the scene that they do. You know, that's how they're gonna convey. They pretty much did all the tricks in the book to convey human emotion, and like that is such a good scene, man.
It really does.
Like, that's probably my favorite part.
Well, everything always comes back. Like he's got stuck in his determination of logic, and once that's like he's used the glasses, that's his relatability, and he's just like, no one who wears glasses would ever wear them to bed. And the other guy's like, well, you don't know, and he's like, I know, not guilty.
Yeah,
like,
really, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's like, oh, fuck.
That's the one
right.
I like, because he's like the last holdout.
Have you ever worn glasses to bed?
I've fallen asleep with glasses like a fucking idiot, and it's always the worst because it hurts when you wake up, or I broke them. Or both.
You broke them, yeah.
Oh god, glasses. Like, when you fall asleep with glasses sucks, dude. You don't know, but your fucking ear, like if you fall asleep with it behind your ear, anyway.
Well, no,
It's there's so many things in this movie. Like you said, it's like there are tropes now, but it's just like all the tricks. Like something that really stood out to me on this watch, because this is probably like maybe my third viewing, third, fourth.
Oh, okay, we didn't. We normally will ask our first impressions.
I believe we first
This is
watched
technically-
it in high school, right? Originally.
Right. No, I don't. If we did, I don't think I. I don't.
I
think watched
definitely
all of it.
did
I
in
just
high
remember,
school.
I just remember like breaking down a few scenes. There were a few scenes that I remember in this, but like, I don't. Yeah, the full extent. I don't think I've seen it. Credit to credit. So.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So this was the first time that you remember from end to end.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Because I watched it a few years ago for some reason, and that was the first time I seen it in a long time. So I was like, oh shit, yeah, this movie rules. That really clicked with me. But the thing that stood out to me this time was like juror number 3 kept, because of his emotionality, because he's the guy who's like constantly letting emotion trump reason every time. He kept proving everyone else's points for them. By accident, like kind of, but with his, like he's just fighting against it when he's like, I'll kill you, and then he's like, and then juror number 8, smug as fuck, he's like, but you don't mean you'll actually kill me, do you?
Yeah.
Like just his point, it's proven, and then occasionally he keeps saying shit like, later he's like, none of the testimony matters, but this one woman's piece of testimony, and then that gets proven wrong, and he's like, well, what about all the other stuff? And then they're like, you said that didn't matter, like,
Yeah.
and he's like, get fucked. And then he cries because this his son.
He's got a great
arc, man. Everyone's got it.
He's got the climactic like monologue that's just like he's just like, not guilty, my son. He's got the picture and he's like wrestling with his wallet. Like I love, dude, the acting, the old school acting, like that the like dramatic acting that goes from like we're now in the 50s, and so we've had half a century to hone in what cinema is and what film is and what acting looks like. And that's why I feel like you get a lot of masterpieces like in the 50s and 60s that look kind of clunky and they do feel old because it's like we're still trying to hone in that. But then you have movies that like have fully understood that you can blend kind of that because this feels like the fact that it's not a stage play first is kind of interesting to me. It's rare that it goes the opposite.
Yeah, because it definitely
exactly
feels like a play. Yeah, even with the performances, like you're saying,
But it's like, you have to act differently. You have to act to the camera, and it's like you have to play it closer, but with like subtlety, but yet with largeness and being big, and like he just does such a good job of that monologue, and every character in this feels so real. Like even though like the nerdy kid or whatever, the more nerdy one,
egghead.
Yeah, the egghead with the
killer.
glasses,
Like, keep calling him Killer. We were joking that he's probably actually the real killer.
Actually, the real murder. Yeah, he got on trial just so he could be like.
It's the perfect crime. He's a juror.
Though. Yeah, but dude, Don Draper though was my favorite character. Not my favorite character, but he was a good character. I liked his like I loved everyone's personality that they brought into it, and like how it's so good that they go from like their character to the end where they're a lot more sympathetic, and I don't know, I feel like everyone in that room was like touched and reflected on their lives and were changed, and maybe not even till they get to the parking lot. It might not have like completely cut deep, but it definitely did.
Yeah, everyone was forced. That's what's so good.
They
It's
changed out of their archetype. It was great.
12 guys in one room, and they're all forced to challenge their own beliefs, and then like have some sort of arc throughout it. Whether it's like they're overcoming their ignorance or their righteousness or their emotionality or their just indifference to the baseball guy. Like, I don't give a fuck. Now that it's switched, he just switches it up because he wants to get the fuck out of there. Like, he doesn't care. And to the fucking advertising guy, yeah, the Don Draper, that's just like, hey, did I tell you I work at an ad agency? Because I'm like, when I was watching, I'm like, that would be me. I'd just be doodling and shit. I'd be like, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, but
I know, right, and that and it's interesting because it's like, people's carelessness, and then I know, the baseball guy is someone I'd want to like when I watch this again, I want to like kind of focus on him more because I'm curious to see what his like character growth was. Like you could, you definitely knew that he was like trying to get out of it, but not maliciously, like not it just kind of more selfishly. And so
Yeah, he just definitely cared more about like his own time and everything. He just didn't really. He didn't have like a stake in it emotionally. But then that was what's called out. He's like, when he says that, they're like, do you not have any fucking dignity? When he's just like, I don't give a fuck. And then eventually he's just like, you know what? You're right. And he's forced to look at himself and be like, why am I? So maybe I am being self-centered and I ought to take this more seriously. And then it's like, even juror number 1, like, I don't know, something about that guy. Like, he just kind of is like running the thing, but I just like the cut of his jib because he seems like such an every man. Like, he just is just like, he gets shit and he's just like, do you want to do it?
I love the dialogue in this is like, I don't have any offhand, but like, I like how that juror number 1 is he's so like matter of fact plain. He's like, here's what we got to do. Let's do this. And like, I don't know how it's great. It's great how like the internal monologue of all these characters is like written out. And it's like, there's subtlety in their acting and you totally get like I was saying earlier, the human emotion involved with like all the scenarios and the tropes. But it's hard to write a character that can like say what they're thinking and it doesn't sound weird and it doesn't sound
this is one of the exactly, this is one of the like something you'll notice a lot from older movies. Like we were saying, the performances are like much more outward. I do feel like that's kind of how people talked back then. I mean, I wouldn't know, I wasn't there, but I do feel like old people I've met from that era have this very like that cadence about them that feels very natural. Even Gat was saying like that wow, these guys, like, this feels natural, but like also in a way that's like just direct, in a way that's like, nowadays we have especially with like modern technology with little microphones, like we have these really small, quiet, subtle performances which are beautiful in their own way. But there is something about this because it's like, it's not so outward where it's like, yes, me on the stage, you know what I mean? But it's like, it's this bombasticness of like, I need to be heard over, like, this is my point, that it's like so baked into the characters, but also works really well because, obviously all the movies from this time period are like that because this tiny car of a film camera is loud as fuck. So the microphone and everything, everyone's got to basically shout. I mean, it's not so bad by the 50s, but still,
Oh, but still though. They're using like, the technology is not like a lav mic or anything that you don't get, like you said, the small performances, and they're limited to their environment. Like they shot this in that room. I mean, that's like, it's all real. And like the thing that I was super impressed about,
it's real, like it's not a set.
It's not a set. It's all shot inside of a room, and they basically had 1, 2, 3, 4 walls.
That's insane to me.
They would shoot the whole. I know, right? No, that's what.
How is that not a set?
I know, right? And so
how are you gonna make a movie that takes place in all one room in the 50s and not be a set
in one room?
That's pretty good. That's cool.
And I can't remember. I didn't write the dimensions down. It's easily to Google it, but it's like 30. I can't remember. It's like 36 feet by 12 feet or something. It's like wildly small. And so they would shoot. It's so fucking crazy how fast they shot this movie and how good the continuity is. Like it really is one of those things where like,
how fast did they shoot it?
They shot this in like less than 6 weeks. It was like crazy. They spent like, and a lot of that, like 2 weeks was like straight. I think they shot principal photography in 2 weeks, and they did 2 weeks of rehearsals, or maybe it was 6 weeks of rehearsals, and they shot in 2 weeks. Anyways, it's a very small window. They shot it hella under budget, and that was something like Lumet's like, he was really known for that in the future. He could shoot really at budget, if not under, and because he's just really tight and really like, he's really smart. He was like, he could edit in his head. Like he really was like an auteur.
Yeah, he's lean, man. He's lean with the way he's doing it. It's like not like doing a billion takes. That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. But dude, how they shot this is so sick, dude. They would literally they would be like, okay, we're gonna shoot this, because it wasn't shot chronologically, but it was shot chronologically for each setup. So they would go, all right, in this scene, or in this whole movie, there's going to be this many conversations happening in this corner of the room. So we're going to shoot against wall 1 and wall 2. We're going to light, we're going to set up, and we're going to shoot the entire movie, all the scenes that we need from that corner, and we'll shoot all of it, and then we'll cut to the other side. So they were literally shooting the whole movie in one corner, and then they would come back, and it would be 3 or 4 weeks later, or whatever, not that long. But anyways, it was like time later, like time would elapse, like 5 or 6 days would go between.
And they shoot the other side.
They would shoot the other side, literally.
That's
100%.
awesome. That's
you would be
intense.
having a conversation with somebody across the other side that you would shoot 5 days later. You know,
That's
it's
intense.
like-
That's cool
it's
though.
Wild
for
to
their
think about.
setup, yeah.
They rehearsed it so well. They did it dry, like they did like all of it just rehearsed.
Well, it seems
so well
flawless.
that,
The
like,
interactions
yeah,
seem
more
pretty much
flawless,
flawless.
It, like that was something that like I'm like it just almost seems like insane how they shot that, but I'm also like that it's so cool. It's like you don't make movies like that anymore.
No.
Because we have we have like the technology to shoot multiple cameras and to shoot multiple scenes.
Well, and even
You
then,
could
like
film this
traditionally,
movie,
they would just be like, "This is the setup. We'll shoot everything from your side of the dialogue, and then we'll switch and we'll shoot
Right.
everything from your side. Get the wide, whatever, and then it's like that. You shoot that scene, and then you're done, or shoot part of that scene, and then you're done. You don't shoot this scene, this scene, this scene from this angle. Switch
with
it,
that
shoot that
100%
same
lighting,
scene
yeah.
from another angle days later. That's cool because that really does mean that their pre-production had to be fucking on point.
on point. Dude, there were
Like-
365 like individual setups.
Wow.
It almost like that's wild. That's like wild.
And for one room with a
What-
giant camera, like
No,
it's
I know.
it's impressive. It's a feat, man.
And it's crazy. Like next time you watch it, watch like the pacing. I mean, it is. This is something that like if you know just a little bit about this movie. I mean, I knew about this forever. And if you don't know about this, here's a little fun info.
I like fun
The
info.
pacing and the pacing and the claustrophobia. It all lends itself to like the camera trickery and how they would use wide angle lens at the beginning and shoot high, and then they started shooting lower and like tighter, and dropping the background so it's all foreground, making it seem a lot smaller in the room. If you notice at the end,
I did.
It's something that's cool that I didn't even register
As it gets
until
more
I read it.
personal and more intimate,
Yeah, right, exactly, and more intense. And then you get that moment to breathe when they all turn their backs on like the quote unquote like true racist. But he kind of goes on this like wild diatribe. But anyways, I'm like everyone there is kind of thinking that, but he really was like sticking to the point.
He was,
But,
yeah.
And then that's like
And
that's
he
the
was
time
like
that
hurt that no one else. We'll talk about it. He's like,
Right.
what?
Which is-
You guys don't get it? Like what? I'm just
which
telling
is
you what
really-
everyone knows, right?
I think
guys,
that's really really interesting and sophisticated for the time. Apparently, the TV version doesn't necessarily lean into the racism. as heavy.
There's no, that's a strong statement from the filmmakers, just because, especially for the time period, it's like there was still segregation going on. There's still fucking
I
Jim
know.
Crow and shit.
I know it's why yeah. Right.
Like you don't
And
think
so
about
it's like-
that. Like this is before civil rights, man. Like anyway,
Exactly. This is for the '60s when
sorry,
racism ended.
but you were talking about
so-
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Pacing.
So that gives you some breath at that scene, and that's
Yeah.
kind of towards the end. But literally, the last 20 minutes of this movie has over 60% of the cuts of the entire film. So it was hot. If you notice, there's like it's just back and forth.
That is true.
cutting
That's more
through
of the
characters.
close-ups in
Yeah,
the last part.
Right. And it's like something I never truly noticed, because it's like at the beginning too, they move the camera more. It's slower and methodical movement.
That makes sense. It's like
And then
for
at the end,
the
it's
the
fast.
rising action, and then and it's more like cha-cha at the end and in close, intimate. Like before, you get like let's take another vote because they take like fucking 10 votes or whatever. You get a wide shot of them all raising their hands or not, and then at the end it's every hand.
Every hand,
boom,
that's so good.
every not guilty, boom, boom, and then the last one it goes up and then it goes down on him. He's the one that finally turned for this rounded discussion. You know what I mean? Slowly
Right.
changing the cause. It's like each
that's
section
cool,
of the
yeah.
script kind of like turns a guy to be like, oh, so that's why like everyone has their moment to come around in one way or another, and what that says about them, which is again just beautiful writing. So I think it's interesting what you said about just overall continuity and stuff, especially the way they shot it. Surprising because it's funny that we watched two movies, not even meaning to, like how similar the movie we watched last week was Do the Right Thing, and how similar of like how hot this movie was. Everyone's just so hot, it's summer and sweaty. But it's like
and New York. It takes place
in New York,
Oh.
and then it's just like, but then it's like as it goes, the sun goes down. Like it does feel, like you do feel, and I'm glad we picked this kind of not genre, but this category because it
the
feels
environmental
you feel the
influence is
time
cool.
pass. You know, they're like,
Yeah.
oh, it's getting late. Let's get dinner. It's so fucking hot. They can't get the fan to work. You know, and they're like, let's hold out, and then it rains. It's a little bit of relief. They get the fan working, blah blah blah, and before they know it, you know, and then it's like evening when they finally leave. It's the one I don't want to say unrealistic, but the one thing I would have ruined it, but I would have loved to seen is the reaction of the the people in the courtroom and the judge when they're like, oh yeah, that seems like that was a good prosecution, and they come out and they say not guilty, and they're like, what the fuck? And then there's like, then they just walk out at the end, and there's like no camera people or anything. Like I feel like people would be maybe losing their minds over it.
Right. Yeah, that really would be interesting. And I wonder if the 97
I want to see that one now.
version,
Yeah, I've never
too.
seen it, but I want to see it.
I'm kind of like I'm kind of hesitant just for the fact that like
I'm hesitant because it's like, this is one of those, this is like the Psycho remake where, you know, Gus Van Sant remade Psycho, and it's like, you can't improve upon it, really. You're just going to put yourself up to scrutiny. Yeah. It's like, how are you going to improve on 12 Angry Men? You can't. Like, yeah, it's in color now. Great. Like, for some people. But, like, you know,
actually,
it's...
I was going to come on and say a counterpoint to that, which I think it would be cool to see this movie every, like, 20 years.
Oh, dude.
You could make a kind of a more contemporary rendition of it. And I think you could do a good job, and it actually would be kind of cool to get that, you know. I mean, it's like we probably will get it. I mean, not every 20 or so, you know, is what I'm thinking. Because I mean, 57 and 97, that's a huge thought.
I want to see. I didn't realize that the 97 one was directed by William Friedkin. Friedkin, who directed The Exorcist and Bug and everything. Killer Joe.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
French Connection, Friedkin, man. Now I want to see it, and it's got a pretty good cast, man. Ossie Davis, who was also in Do the Right Thing. So now I got to watch that one. Damn it. All right.
I know. I mean, because that's the thing. It's like this structure of filmmaking or whatever, you know. There's like this scenario can provide.
I'm interested what they do with
12 Angry Men.
There's like 4 black men in the remake, which I'm interested how that does with the dynamic, you know.
And I'm frustrated because I'm watching a trailer right now of the 12 Angry Men remake, and it's like literally just like a shot for shot. It's like that is what frustrates me. It would be cool to see a 12 Angry Men remade contemporary in a contemporary setting. Like, what is a trial like now? Because I feel like that's like the one thing about the movie that I don't like is it doesn't feel realistic. It's a good movie. That's what I'm like. I know it's a movie the entire time I'm watching it, and I'm like, it's flawless. It really is flawless.
Yeah, give me a
But I'm
12
also
Angry
like,
Men that has a
cool to
different
see.
murder plot, like a different plot that does the
Right.
same. You can do the same beats and have like similar type reveals, but give me like a more contemporary crime and like how it happened and everything. That would be interesting.
Which I guess kind of the night of is. I mean that clearly isn't a one. I like the one setting. That's what's cool. Like we've had other courtroom dramas that are great. It's just like,
well, that's part of the reason
yeah.
we landed on doing 24-hour-ish movies for this month, because the other option that I wanted to go with, I felt like this also encompassed, which is movies that take place all in one location. But if it takes place all in one day, there's only so many places you can go, so there's going to be some overlap. So I feel like we got the best of both worlds. It's like, this movie's almost real time, all in one room. Yeah. It's like, I feel like you really have to, and even same with last week's movie of fucking Do the Right Thing. It's like all one neighborhood, all in one day. Yeah. And it's just like, I feel like with those limitations, as a filmmaker, you really have to kind of like pull out the punches. Like, you really have to do more because you're not Tom Cruise going from country to country on like saving the world or anything. It's literally just like, this is this tight, intense drama that's happening in close quarters over the course of real time. Someone's day, or not real time, but may as well be over the course of like someone's day, and a lot of shit can happen, man. And it's like I feel like these kind of stories are some of my favorites, and that's why I fucking love just these 12 guys fucking hashing it out in this one room, man. I love movies like that. And that's, I really do. It's hard not to there's nothing about this movie. I don't know.
I'm surprised this hasn't been, I don't know. I don't feel like we've gotten this same intensity. I would feel like the popularity, cause when we look at like the financial history of this movie, it didn't really perform very well. And it wasn't like, it was critically acclaimed, and I think it was nominated.
While we're talking about it, let's lay the money on.
Sure. We can kind of move on to getting some Reddit comments too. But so Money Minute's tricky to figure out exactly. Yeah. Because I know for a fact that it was like 360,000 was the budget that he was given, and then he shot it under, so it was like, I can't even remember, like 340 or something is what they said. But when it comes to box office, in an interview I was listening to, they said that it like basically doubled what it made, so it made it back, plus some. But that's like not even $1 million, so it's like didn't really rock people's worlds. But I think now it gave Lumet a career, and now it's like it's in the Criterion.
It's not that sensational, you know what I mean? Like it's very influential and I think as like a cinephile in the 50s, you're like, whoa, this is fucking amazing. But your average everyday Joe is like, that was just a bunch of guys screaming in a room. Like I want to see,
right?
I want to go to the movies for escapism and glamour and this isn't Marvel, you know.
Well, no, you're kind of close. You're kind of hitting it on the head there, because Henry Fonda just came off the back of he did Grapes of Wrath, and then he did like a war picture and then a Western, and they were like, big. Those are big, sensational, action-packed movies that he did. And so going to this picture and he was like the advocate for this film. He really wanted to get it. He really wanted to get it done, and because he really liked the Rose script of it and like the original.
Mm-hmm.
So he definitely was a component to get this going, and he was definitely happy to be like top billing and have his like star power draw this in. But I think I think it kind of just killed it, because it's like the momentum of this movie is a lot slower than action films.
On paper, it sound to like your layman, like I get hard for this kind of movie, but on paper I can see how it sounds boring, especially to a 1957 audience. Like I can see how they're like I'm glad it doubled its money, which is still pretty good, but it's like this movie, you look at it now through the scope of time and be like, this is one of the most influential films. Like this movie did so much. It's fucking one of the best from the decade, and it's like it's excellent. You know what I mean? It's the forefront for a lot.
It's a masterclass on just dramatic writing. Like
this movie holds the fuck up too. You know what I mean? Like other than like some of the things you said about like, the crime and like kind of like the overall thought process of the more complicated nuances of the justice system, especially now. But it's just like this movie is just still like, I wasn't ready to be this entertained again, honestly.
I know.
Like I put it on and I was like, oh yeah, 12 Angry Men is good. Like it's cool. But then I put it on and I immediately was like, oh fuck. Especially, and then as soon as the knife comes out too, that's the one you're like, oh.
Yeah. I was like, oh, you've got my full attention now.
Exactly. It's like that meme. All right. Anyway, so yeah, that's. I don't know. Now I really want to watch the remake. So I got a couple of Reddits for you. Well, let's do that.
Let's hear him. We got a little Travis tonight too.
That's nice. I miss your voice, Travis, if you're listening. So, Miss Steel 4545 says, I've seen it many times and I watch it frequently. Every actor is talented and deliver a wonderful performance. They shared screen time, something that would be hard today. That's a good point, because most big modern ensemble casts I can think of, there's always like one guy or two people that are like the leads or the protagonists, and it's like, obviously Henry Fonda's character is kind of like the instigator of the whole thing, but everyone else gets just like, I mean, at least most of them get as much kind of time on there, especially juror number 3. who is like maybe the most antagonistic. You know what I mean? But
Right, yeah.
it's like it really is an ensemble cast because I'm thinking like modern days, like I don't know, Knives Out or something like that's an ensemble cast. But Daniel Craig, he's still the main guy. You know what I mean? Like he's the one out in front of everything else. And so it's kind of hard. You really don't see full. I don't know. I guess we just watched Asteroid City, and it's like Wes Anderson movies kind of do that.
Yeah.
So
Kinda, yeah.
I guess that's. But even Asteroid City, it's like
like-
Jason Schwartzman's characters obviously got probably the most screen time.
Right.
But yeah, that's a good
And
point.
There's always like an anchor, which in Wes Anderson films, where it's like, yeah, you're gonna follow that story, regardless. And this one, it felt like at any moment you're like, oh god, somebody, who's gonna interject and who's gonna get their camera time, and like everyone does get their camera time. It's great.
Right. So I got a couple more. So Clones of People 2 says, I've seen this many times and any excuse to rewatch it. This is a great film, and I could gush about how amazing it is. The writing and acting bring every character to life so well that each one is memorable. Lee J. Cobb chewing up the scenery and the twists and turns of the dialogue, slowly revealing the motives and prejudices of the characters really draws me in. The tight editing, shot composition, camera work, and blocking all combine to create visual drama and manage to keep our attention in the constraints of a single room. This is a masterpiece, 10 out of 10. Thank you. Yeah, it's excellent. And then one more. So Turbo13 says, this was a great movie. Everything about this movie is top shelf. The way the actors engage with each other just seems natural. And also super smart and engaging. It sucks you in, and you don't even realize it's in one room the whole time, except for the one scene in the bathroom. Speaking of the bathroom, that was my one negative about this movie, was when he was drying his face off with the towel thing for your hands.
Yeah, no, that was
disgusting. This one got a 4 out of 6 out of 5 for me. One of the best movies I've seen in a long time.
Yeah,
that's
4.6
As
out of 5.
is his first viewing. Yeah, it's good.
Dude, that's really cool. Like, and that I'm glad that you're broadening your horizons. Like, I hope this is a film that you can tell people who are like 5-10 years younger than you. You can be like, no, you like there is great film history. Like, there's films that
like I said,
will hold your attention no matter what.
It's sad that I have to like sell this movie so much because it's like I was trying to get my wife to watch it with me, and she probably would have because she likes a good courtroom drama, But her biggest turnoff for sure is like this movie's like 70 years old. You know what I mean? Like she's like, I don't want to watch a movie that it's like barely wants to watch a movie that's like from my childhood, let alone a movie that came out fucking.
There are some rough ones from our childhood, dude.
Oh yeah, no doubt. But like, I don't know. It's like I know that's people's biggest turnoffs. That it's like your average person is like, I got time to go watch a movie that came out fucking before my grandfather was even born or something.
Well, the thing that like gets me is like I understand that, and I understand it's like once you, like we don't need to be convinced. We're like you Levi and me, Jordan. We love film, and we love it in any form, and we'll watch it. We'll watch the driest piece of dirt, and then we'll watch like the wettest sopping film out there. And this movie, I feel like it's like where like Seven Samurai. I like Seven Samurai more than this movie. That's not really a hot take because it's like just my personal opinion.
Yeah,
they're both fantastic films in their own right. But I don't want people to watch.
That's
Seven
hard.
Samurai.
That's hard. I think I like this one more, but it's close, man. I don't know. Seven Samurai is great.
Yeah, which is fine. That's great. I mean, I just like those characters and that story, and like I like and that's the thing. I think it's like I just connected with the emotions of that more. Where this is like objectively, it's perfect.
And it was more influential on your youth. You know what I mean? I know that when I met you, I'm surprised you don't have a seven samurai like neck tattoo.
I know.
This
I
point.
really should. I'm surprised I never got the flag.
Yeah. I'll
weird,
give you the flag, bud.
I know we should just the amount of tattoos that we've given ourselves and to each other.
I know.
Why
we're due.
Why not have it?
God,
weird.
We were talking about which one I want to do. I'm like, which one lately? It was the After Hours, the shark eating the guy's dick. I want to do that tattoo. Yeah,
that's a good tat. That's a good tat. All right.
Anyway, let me pull up Travis. Just
Travis says,
distract the audience.
So, everybody out there in podcast land, we love you, and if you would like to support us, it's amazing and it helps us out, so we can keep producing content. If you go to patreon.com/cult of cinema knowledge, we'll pop up and you can, for $3, you can get our Discord and some other stuff, and then there's other tiers. The Tim tier is the best one. And,
I forgot about the Tim tier.
You will help us out immensely, and maybe we'll do a bonus episode about all the tattoos. Maybe we'll do a live stream of the tattoos.
That'd be fun.
We'll give ourselves
we
some
really
film
have
tattoos.
been. We'll talk about it more at the end, maybe. But we really are trying to give more content for Patreon to make it more worth it.
We got some interviews coming down the pike here, so we'll get you all
I forgot the
satiated.
fucking Tim tier was such a throwaway joke too. I don't even remember what episode that was.
I don't either, but
We're just like, all right,
comment.
Tim. Yeah, anyone Tim out
Yeah.
there, you get $1 off of the premium tier. Anyway,
You do, yeah. You do.
so if you're Tim, this is the deal of a lifetime. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Hey guys, 12 Angry Men was brilliant. It accomplished so much with so little. Literally 12 guys in a room for 96 minutes out of a 97-minute runtime. Sounds boring, but it's so far from that. In full disclosure, I started it late last night and planned to watch half and finish today after work. But I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. It was that intriguing. I don't know about you two, but I thought they'd find him not guilty in the end. Nonetheless, I was thoroughly entertained by the process of getting there. This movie holds up so strongly today as it must have 66 years ago. Another observation that I got from reading someone's letterbox review was the fact that this movie was in black and white. And for some reason, that escaped me as I was thinking about it. For me, I normally categorize a black and white movie as such, then as good or bad, or action, suspense, whatever it may be. But 12 Angry Men was just absolutely great, regardless of when it was made, nor its color or lack thereof. So my question for you two is, what did you see in this movie that's outdated, or something you might have seen that you forgot was around? For me, the water cooler cups were cone-shaped, and in the bathroom, the hand dryers were those revolving cloth devices. I had forgotten about those things. Anyways, great pick this week. Thanks.
Germ Factory.
Thanks, Travis.
Dude, Travis, that was poignant, beautiful. Thanks for coming back.
I'm glad
I
you
love
liked it.
having
Yeah.
I love having you on the show. Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. I mean, it's kind of, this is one of those movies where like you can't not like this movie. Like it's, like that's what I'm saying. It's like I like Dog Day more. So it's like that can stand true. I like the same director. I just feel more personal to that movie and that
I probably do too more, but I think maybe this one's better. But I don't know. It's hard to say. Like
and that's what the film is. It's like it is opinion. You do have like, you have to connect to the characters. But this movie to me is like, I don't know. It tried like so hard and succeeded. Like it wanted to stay relevant, and it thought it was like it kind of future proofed itself, and like.
Well,
it really,
that's a good point
like
he
said,
made, Travis, about it being black and white. Exactly, because I don't really think about when I think about like what's my favorite black and white movie. Honestly, 12 Angry Men doesn't really come to mind because I think the fact of its single location and it's just dudes just talking.
And it's rich.
There's nothing that you're like, oh, this color I'm not seeing. You're like seeing a car. Like a bright car, you're not like, oh, I wonder what color that car is. It's just guys. Like I even made a joke with my brother while we were watching it. I was like, oh, everything's black and white because we were talking about how good a suit is. I'm like, oh, I wonder what color it is. And then later, the one color comment at all, the guy says to the other guy, him in the gray flannel. And I was like, I knew it. It's all black and white. But that's the thing. It's just like in this movie, the visuals are so good with the movement like tied into the feelings and the actions of the characters that it's like you don't like color doesn't matter as far as like that I don't know how to explain like that element of the cinematography. Like they make up for it in so many other ways that you don't really notice. You really don't. Like I think anyway.
No, and I think it lends itself to that environment and how rich and deep the blacks and whites are. Like how it like they're so it's weird how it works. It's like it's so the color pops out and costuming back then, like the costume department, it shoots for black and white. It's a completely different tone. It's fucking wild, dude. Like on set, they'll like your like clothes can look whack. You'll look weird. sometimes, and the makeup is weird because you're shooting for black and white. And so there's times where it's like you'll do your makeup and it's like what lipstick and what what eyeliner and what like foundation they use. It's different because it's shooting on black and white, and you have to like think about color different. And it's like they really thought about this.
They really did. It's like very neutral tones of like their clothes and stuff. And it's like,
well,
I noticed too with like all the sweat and everything like that. You don't really see that much in older movies either, because it's like they're so on top of it with the makeup and everything. But it's like this is part of the makeup.
I think that's actually a good point. The sweat just like it goes hand in hand with the environment. Like they said, it's gonna be a hot fucking day, and then it's wet. So you just know they're like sticky in there, and but like they show it. It's like there was like such a glam to like film.
Yeah, back then it's like you're sweating, powder it up.
Even nowadays you have actors that are like, I'm not going to be on scene unless I look great. I want sweaty fucking armpit sweat. Like pimples and bring back regular ass people in movies. Like that's what I want. And that's what I love. That's what I love about the 1920s. When you watch silent films, those people acting didn't exist how it does even 10 years from the 1900s to like 1920s. Where it's like those were like circus folks and real people, and they all of them were kind of like
circus
folks. Kind of
rough.
Yeah, pretty much. Just kind of rough, and it's like even like the most beautiful women are kind of rough to like today's standards, and even 20 years from the time period. And it's like, but I mean, like, I love it. I love the glamour shot of it. And I like, yeah. And that's
there was a rawness before we got super as a country got super up our own butts and like all that later in the decades. But there's a rawness of the early 1900s and a lawlessness that I like circus people, as you say. Anyway,
it is,
there's nothing else. This movie is excellent, and I think it should be required viewing. Like, if you like movies at all, you should watch it.
Really though, and it's like even if you have like, I know, I get it is. It's
I think you'll be even like I would recommend this even to like just someone that's like, oh, I watch TikTok and I like fucking Marvel. I'm like, you should still watch this movie. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
I have some coworkers that I come to mind, and I'm like, you're not someone who I think would like this movie at all. But I'm like, you would though. You would. It's like one of those. I mean,
if you gave it your time, like it will suck you in. But if you give it the chance, you'll be pleased. I think anyone would be pleased given the chance. And if you just outwardly just don't like it, then you're an asshole, or it's some weird personal thing. Yeah, it's just like it's not even that good. It's just guys in a room,
Or you've never watched a movie and this is your first movie and you're kind of just like, oh, I don't like it, and that's like, okay.
If you don't like it, that's fine.
Oh, sure, I don't like it. I don't care really, but I think you're dumb. Travis, it's funny that you mentioned water cooler because the water cooler was glass.
I like that.
Was something I noticed.
Brutal.
That's something I noticed.
That was a piece of engineering. That was.
I know, right? Yeah, like that glass would fetch you like 45 cents nowadays if you took it in to get
Kill
it
a man
recycled.
With it.
But it's a murder weapon. But and then Travis, don't feel bad breaking up movies. That's like how God intended it, man. Watching films, they had intermissions back in the day. So you're supposed to watch half a movie and then take a break. Like that's
hashtag bring back intermissions for real though.
I know, right? That's our thing.
No, I know. I used to actually be really against breaking up movies, and I am kind of picky about like stopping in the middle of a scene or something. But ever since I had kids, we talked about this in a podcast maybe a couple months ago. But like I've kind of come around because ever since I have kids, sometimes that's how I got to get my movie watching is in segments, in half or whatever. And I've come around to it. I used to, I used to be much more of like, you need to get immersed in it and you need to sit and watch it all in one sitting. And like, I think some movies benefit from that. Obviously,
of course. I think there are times where it's like going to a theater experience and like being able to, watch it uninterrupted. That there's really nothing that beats that. But
I think really heavy movies
we need an intermission. Yeah,
you do, but like you don't want to ruin the momentum.
There's an intermission in Asteroid City that we just saw recently, and that's a contemporary film. And the intermission was only like 30 seconds or something.
I think a really dark movie would be like a really heavy dark movie would be hard to split up, like Irreversible or something, where you're like watch half of it and then you're like and then you go start it up again and you're like, oh yeah, goddamn, I forgot what was like all this. This is heavy,
well,
man.
I don't think you can't take that much time. You can take
I know.
Maybe a 12 to like 16-hour period in between it if you're really, anyway. And there are no rules, but I'm just saying
those are the rules.
We watch movies. I just watched a movie recently. Watched the first hour. It felt like a natural pause, and so I stopped and I watched the rest later. It's
Remind me, because we're very forgetful, Jordan. Remind me after this when we do our production talk. I actually have something to say about intermissions, so remind me.
Oh, okay. Intermission.
All right. Anyway, moving on. The next,
thank you, everybody.
The next 24-hour movie that we're watching is actually won the poll. Is Green Room. So go watch that.
Which you're very excited about. I'm thrilled too.
I'm excited
in a long time.
So
I just know it's like one of your favorite movies. So
I don't think I've watched it since my kids have been born. So it's been like at least 3 years, and I love this movie. So I am looking forward to watching it again, and I'm excited for you fine folks to watch it and come comment on it and tell us your thoughts and opinions, because this movie feels tailor-made for my tastes, and so I love
100%.
it. I love it.
We did a bonus episode about Into the Spider-Verse, and our favorite Spider-Verse spider character is the punk one. So
yeah, obviously
that's like, it's our aesthetic. But I feel like don't be nervous by the aesthetic. I mean, it is kind of like, in your face.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's an awesome story, and it's very thrilling, and it has great character development, and it's got great performances by Picard. So
I ain't gonna sell you on it. Go fucking watch Green Room. It's excellent. It's one of the best thrillers of the century, at least, I think. And so go check it out. And that's what we're watching next week. So thank you.
Better than 12 Angry Men.
I probably like it more.
I come around and I'm like, fuck 12 Angry Men. Nah.
You're like, as a matter of fact, that dated piece of shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Can't believe it's in black and white. Travis reminded me it's in black and white. I hate it.
Travis, you actually did, and that's like Seven Samurais like that for me too. This is this is the Never Ending Pod, but it is a movie that when I think about it and I tell people go see it, to me it's got rich color and like it's rich, but then I'm like, oh fuck yeah, it's black and white. There's no color, and it's such a deterrent for people, and I'm like, you're wrong, A, but B, I understand.
Well, I cross streams with Ron too,
Well, I know that's the most colorful movie ever made,
and it's amazing.
Literally, Ron is like one of the most colorful movies I've ever seen.
It
in my
is.
life.
It's so good. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
You want to just start talking about Ron right now? Anyway, thank you, everyone.
All right,
go listen to that. That's like the third episode or something.
I know, don't listen to that one's bad. We need to redo that one.
Yeah. All right, goodbye.
Bye.